So check this out, people. I want to talk about something that I don't know if a lot of people are talking about when it comes to dating in the Philippines, right? Because a lot of foreigners come to the Philippines. They come to the Philippines not just because the country is inexpensive to live in, because the people are great, they're amazing, the food, but a lot of foreigners, especially men, right? Because the majority of foreigners who come to the Philippines are men, right? And the reason why they come here is because of the women. I mean, let's just keep it real, right? And so the women here in the Philippines are amazing. I don't think that it's possible for women anywhere in the world to come close to what a Filipino woman is. Now, what foreigners need to understand is that the majority of people in the Philippines are poor, right? Especially the women. The women especially because a lot of the times you're going to find that if you meet a woman online or here in person, she's most likely going to have children. She's most likely going to be married, but she's most likely going to be single. Because the majority of men in this country, and I'm just keeping it real, I'm not trying to offend the Philippines, but just like in America, in the rest of the world, men are men, right? But I find that in this country, the majority of men tend to be irresponsible when it comes to their women. So if you meet a woman here in the Philippines and you're a foreigner, you're going to find she's married, she has children, but single, right? Because her husband left her. He either left her for another woman, has another family, or is simply irresponsible, because the majority of the people who work in this country are the women. The single mothers who raise their children, who support their mothers, their fathers, their lolas, right? Their lolos, their grandparents, and their brothers and sisters. It's most of the time it's the woman who does these things, right? But these women struggle and they're poor, right? Just like everyone else who is poor in this country, right? The men also. But again, the difference is that these women do a lot. They do a lot for themselves, they do a lot for their families, and most of the time they don't have much for themselves. And so, if you meet a woman in the Philippines, most likely this is the type of woman you will meet, and you most likely will have to take on the responsibilities that she's been taking on, right? Which is not just supporting her, but her brothers and sisters and her family. Unless you lay down the law and say, hey, listen, sweetheart, I'm not going to do that. I'm here for you. I'm going to take you out of this, and I'm going to make your life better. Okay? Because that's what I would do. I'm not here to support anyone else except for the woman I'm with, her children if she has children, because I understand how life is. But I can't carry the weight of the world, right? You just can't do that. Besides, if you do that, you will be taken advantage of, not just by her, but her family also. And so I would never recommend that. And so most of the time, when you meet a Filipina, straight up from the beginning, right from the rip, most likely she's going to come to you with a sad story. That she hasn't eaten, that her kids haven't eaten, that her kids don't have milk, that they don't have food, that she can't pay her rent, that she's being evicted. All of these things, and they're going to sound like excuses, but you're going to find that it doesn't matter how many women you meet in this country, the majority of them, 8 out of 10 of them, will give you some sad story that they need money for something. And you have to prepare yourself for these things. And you have to put your foot down, because if you don't, they will take advantage of you. Especially if you're sending money to a woman you've never seen in real life. Because she's pretty. because she's sexy, because she's sending you sexy pictures to entice you to send her money, making you believe that she's going to be here for you when you show up. And in reality, most of the time she's not going to be. Because she's not only doing this to you, but she's doing this to other men also. And this is why you cannot deal with a woman who from the beginning starts to ask you for money. You have to know their personality, their characters. And you have to test them. Sometimes you got to test them, you know? Because if a woman actually needs something and I'm chatting with her and I'm talking to her and I'm planning to come here to visit her, and she says, listen, I need this because I don't have no food, I don't have no money, I can't pay the rent, I'll test her. And I might cover her rent for the month. Because the rent here in the Philippines, hell, it's between $40 and $100 a month in a lot of places. I mean, just compare that to back home in the US. And so you have to understand that a lot of the times they're taking advantage of you. And if a woman, after she says to you, for example, listen, I can't pay my rent, can you help me? And you do it that one time, and then she's got another excuse for you 2 days later, 3 days later, a week later, a month later, and it's always something different every day. She's scamming you, bro. She's playing you. She's cheating you. Because she's made it through her life before she met you. She had 1 kid before she met you. She had 2 kids before she met you. She had 3 or 4 or 5 kids before she met you. How did she get this far without you? And now all of a sudden, she can't make it without you. And so she's constantly telling you she needs this, she needs that. And if you continue to support her in that way, then you're just going to be scammed. And basically, you are being scammed. And so I always recommend to foreigners who meet a Filipina not to date a poor Filipina. And I know that sounds cruel, but the fact is that these women are doing what they have to do to survive. They're telling you what they got to tell you to get your money. And it's easier to trust someone who doesn't need you than to trust someone who needs you. Because the one who doesn't need you will choose to be with you for no reason other than the fact that they like you. But the person who needs you wants to be with you because without you, they just can't make it. And so you have to be smart as a man. You have to be an alpha male. You can't just be a punk, a simp, a beta male. Just because you see a cute girl online and she starts sending you sexy pictures, you get all wet and you start sending her your money. That's what little boys do. Because they don't know how to react towards a pretty woman. And the fact is that women don't like those type of men. They use them, they take advantage of them, but what a woman likes is a man that knows how to stand. It's not just for himself, but for her also. A man who's strong. And so you need to know the difference between a woman who's using you and a woman who actually wants to be with you. If she asks for money constantly, if she's constantly giving you some sad bullshit story about her kids not being able to go to school when they've been going to school just fine before they met you, about her kids not being able to eat when they've been eating just fine before they met you. And it's always some sad story. People, guys, 8 out of 10 women that you meet online or here in the Philippines will give you some sad story. And my advice to you is to stay away from any woman who's asking you for money because she needs her bills paid, because the children are hungry. That doesn't necessarily mean that she's lying, because trust me, the struggles here in this country are real. Unlike in the US, when a person here don't got it, they don't got it. And so most of the time, she will be telling you the truth. But that doesn't mean she's not taking advantage of you. Because most Filipinos think that Americans are rich. That every foreigner got it like that. They don't understand that you too got to pay bills, that you too have responsibilities, and that you have struggles too. And so if you don't understand these things, you will be taken advantage by not just the poor women, but the sexy women who don't need you and they just want your money. So keep these things in mind, guys, when you meet a Filipina, that not every story is real. And though I believe the majority of the times those stories and excuses are real, because I've been living here for over a year. I've been coming to and from the Philippines from back home in the US since 2017. I know the struggles, I've seen it firsthand. But that doesn't mean that you're the world's savior. That doesn't mean that you're Philippines' savior and that you're here to save every woman that comes to you with some sad excuse. Because you're gonna realize that eventually that there's always gonna be something. So watch yourselves and watch your money. Because if you're not careful, guys, they will take advantage of you here in the Philippines. It's not just the women, but the taxi drivers. Everybody's always thinking that you got it like that. And so if you plan to be here, I always recommend to people that come here to the Philippines before they become familiar with it, always walk with a local. I prefer the company of a woman. And so when I came here, that's what I wanted to have as my company, as the face to represent me, was a woman. And not a poor woman, one who has an education, college, and who supports herself and doesn't need me, but is willing to take the time to spend with me and me to understand that if she's giving me her time, then I need to make sure that she has everything she needs while we're together, because that's a man's job. You can't just have someone here help you out and, take you through the ropes and teach you how things work, and you're not going to support them in one way or another. It works both ways. But you have to be careful. Watch your back, people, and watch your money.